Good evening and welcome to El Pozo, the show which focuses on the third tier of Spanish football. I'm delighted to be joined this evening by my co-host Tom Morgan Charters. Tom, I was thinking about it early on today and I was wondering if anybody joined us in Primera Federación, not our show, but our league this weekend. I tell you what, if they did, they won't be going away anytime soon, will they? This weekend was absolutely brilliant.
Well, yeah, it was. There's lots of moments to talk about in each of the games. Some refereeing decisions and some coaching decisions. There's lots of stuff to talk about and try and fit it all in within, say, 45 minutes or so, which we try and aim for.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think that quite often we're looking at trying to talk about maybe 14 or 15 of the 20 games and race to the top, race to the bottom, whatever else, we've just got 4 games to focus on. And when I was thinking back over it like you, I was wondering how on earth we're going to fit it all in. We're going to try our best. We've also got to fit some news because obviously this is the end of the season for a number of teams. A few seasons still got a season going on, but other teams are already looking to 26, 27. And that, of course, has meant that a number of teams have been changing what's going on in their dugouts. And we've got a whole long list here, haven't we, really, already, Tom, of people that we need to talk about. We'll keep it fairly brief, as you say, because we want to talk about the 4 games as much detail as possible. But yeah, long list, starting perhaps with we talk about managerial merry-go-round sometimes, don't we? We've got one coach who has left one team and gone to another team in Primera Federación. That would be Javi Vázquez, who has left Algeciras and gone to Racing Club de Ferrol. Any thoughts on this one, Tom?
I mean, I think Racing Ferrol were very lucky to snatch him, really, because I would have thought like teams like Huesca and, well, we already knew the Zaragoza coach that was coming, but like teams like that would have sort of snapped him up, I thought. He's a coach that is on the up, really, getting Talavera promoted last season and then just finishing just outside the playoffs with Algeciras on not a very big budget. And also Algeciras can't register any new players for financial reasons. So you're not going to turn down Racing Ferrol, who was expected to be one of the challengers this season, but they've been massively disappointing, and especially since they changed their coach in January.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still a big club, isn't it? In Primera Federación terms, it's a job, as you rightly said, he couldn't really turn down, and very much on the up. You mentioned that promotion at Talavera. He left after that promotion, didn't he? Went to Algeciras, which we were a bit surprised about. We weren't sure it was going to work out, but he worked out really well, apart from clearly being slightly hampered by those off-field problems. And he's taking the opportunity now to go to undoubtedly a bigger club, and there'll be pressure with that, I'm sure. But he has impressed me hugely so far, and I do think he could do a really good job if he gets the right squad together up there in Galicia. That meant, of course, that Algeciras needed a new head coach, and the name they went for in the end was somebody who's quite familiar to us, although until this season he'd never actually coached in Primera Federación, and that's Adrián Colunga, who had a short spell at Real Murcia early on in the season. What do you make of this appointment?
Well, one of Nick's favourite sayings, the return of Colunga ball. Yeah, I reckon he's got a difficult job ahead of him. Like I said, can't register any players at the moment, but they still got a few players like Juanma Garcia, Victor Ruiz, and Ivan Moreno, who are still under contract, but not many others. Yeah, I'll be happy to be proved wrong, but I think it's going to be a tough time unless they get that sorted.
Yeah, I would say that's absolutely right. But then I think I was saying that about this time last year, to be fair, Tom. I mean, I think that Frank Justa did a decent job at Algeciras, and then obviously he moved on. And when Javi Vázquez came in, I was kind of like, well, I'm not sure he wants to take that job. He's just got Talavera promoted. Is it really that bad to stay at Talavera and try and push on with them? But he did a good job. So, I think they've got a core of a decent team. And then, of course, I do believe that Senor Turillo is staying on for yet another season, isn't it? So it's 28th or something. I think it's about 20, actually. But yeah, Ivan Turillo, an absolute legend at Algeciras, I think is signed up for another season. So yeah, it feels like a club with a lot of spirit, but as you say, not a lot of money and certain restrictions they're living under at the moment. So yeah, I would agree, a tough job, but we've seen them there before, Algeciras, and it's worked out okay. So fingers crossed he does a good job there as well. You mentioned that Real Zaragoza already decided on the head coach. It was actually made official, wasn't it? In the last week, Ibai Gomez, who of course took Arenches de Guecho from Segunda Federación to Primera Federación, and then left for an ill-fated spell with Andorra. Interesting. We'll talk about signings in a minute. And he's already snapped at one of his former players. I think it would be somebody he knew from his Ernesto Getxo days. And of course, there's been two other appointments in Aragon. That's Raúl Jardiel at Huesca, and also Kiko Ramirez has replaced Vicente Paras at Teruel. So all change in Aragon in terms of the dugout.
Yeah, I find the Raúl Jardiel one a very strange one, especially as he has a bit of a background with their fierce rivals, Zaragoza, being the youth coach and assistant coach in the B team and the first team. And for Teruel, Vicente Paras did an unbelievable job last season, made them hard to beat and kept them up on a shoestring budget. It's going to be quite interesting to see how Kiko Ramirez turns out, returning to Spain after spells in Greece, Poland and India. To be honest, I don't know anything about him, but it's just looking at his record is not really giving me any good feelings about him. But like I say again, I'm happy to be proved wrong.
Yeah, it's a difficult second season for Teruel coming up, isn't it? I mean, I know they've been in Primera Federación before, but they certainly punched above their weight last season, and now they've got to do it all over again with what's always one of the lowest budgets in the league, and we'll see what happens. I mean, they might turn out to be an inspired appointment, but like you, I will wait and see about that one. Pablo Alfaro has left Gimnàstica Tarragona. Similar sort of situation to Curro Torres for me at Real Murcia, in the sense that they both did enough to keep those sides up, and relegation would have been a disaster for both Real Murcia and Gimnàstica Tarragona, but not kept on. And we don't know who's going to be replacing Pablo Alfaro yet, do we? At Nastic. One person who's going nowhere, which we're pretty pleased about, is Imanol de la Sota, who is staying at Baracaldo for a fifth season. Don't forget, in that time, he's gotten promoted from Tercera Federación right up to Primera Federación. And of course, they went incredibly close to being in the playoffs for Segunda this particular season. So pretty pleased about that, I would think.
Yeah, it's great to see the Basque coach staying on for another season. And like you say, close to getting into those playoff places. And also he's quite a good coach at developing young players as well, which Baracaldo do try and do in this league. And yeah, don't see any reason why he shouldn't stay on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Obviously, he's had some reassurances from them. I imagine he's an ambitious coach. He's done really well for them. He's obviously been told that they're going to back him as far as they can. It's not a club with a massive amount of money to spend. They had a couple of loans this season, didn't they? From I think it was Galata and Mandiang, who've been really key contributors. So a little bit like Mirandés in Segunda, they kind of feel they've got to find a couple more gems to replace those two in their side that can be signed permanently. And the centre half as well. Was it Arana? Macarena was the other one. I think he was in on loan, wasn't he? So yeah, they've got some work to do this summer, but he's obviously heard what he wanted to hear, and he is staying right where he's been for quite a while now. I don't think we can dwell on too many player signings, partly because there haven't been many. But when one club signs 5 players, or they sign them over a period of time probably, but when they announce 5 signings at once, you kind of have to stand up and take a little bit of notice, don't you? Not just because it's my Real Zaragoza boys.
Well, to be honest, before recording, I did notice there was a few more signings, but it was just too much to add in last minute. So we're just going to stick to these 5 signings, and 2 that are very good signings, I think, in Juanmi Jardi and Ruben Diaz. Great pickups, both experienced in Primera RFEF and should be really playing Segunda football. There was rumours that these deals were already done ages ago before their fate was decided. They could have done a decent job in either division. And then the familiar face for Gomez is the goalkeeper they brought in, Anites Peña from Ernesto Getxo. To be honest, not really seen much of him. I can't really comment. But I'd like to think they might get a goalkeeper in sort of a higher pedigree between sticks. And then Raul Pereira, the left back, who I haven't really seen much of Segunda football since been trying to do this podcast. So you might need to tell me a bit more about him.
Yeah, he's not played a huge amount for Cardiff. I don't think he's got a little bit of checkered history off the field. Not saying more than that. I think it's a decent pickup. Again, you're quite right. I think about Jaume Jardi and Ruben Diaz. They were kind of players who something had been agreed with a while ago, whichever division they were going to be in. And I agree they could probably hold their own in either, but certainly in Primera Federación terms, they're decent pickups. I mean, Peter Ademo is probably the one that's least well known to Spanish football fans. But in a way, perhaps the most significant signing, because he's been playing for Sheriff. Now, I know that the Moldovan league is not necessarily the highest, but, he has played at the heart of their midfield, and he's been playing the Conference League for Sheriff. And so that is a sign of the kind of pulling power that Real Zaragoza still have in the third tier of Spanish football. They can afford to pay him a decent enough wage to take him away from Sheriff. And I think he was captain there as well. So that'll be an interesting one. They obviously had, at the end of last season, a defensive central midfielder who was very impressive for them, and who's gone on to play now for Levante in La Liga, Arriaga. So they're probably looking for somebody, I think, in that kind of mould. And if he's anywhere near as good as Arriaga, then he'll turn out to be a great signing. Right, let's get on then to the 4 games. Let's just quickly run down though where we were at with these 4 ties before the start of the weekend. So we had Real Madrid Castilla 2-0 up against Sabadell after the first leg in the Spanish capital. We also had a 2-goal lead for Villarreal B against Zamora, and that again was played in Villarreal. And then the other 2 games that ended all square. Europa had drawn with Celta Fortuna in Can Dragó, and the other draw was, of course, between Ponferradina and Atletico Madrileño. So we'll do this chronologically, I think. Tom, we'll start Friday night. And we'll start with Sabadell 3, Real Madrid Castilla 0. Now, for the mathematicians amongst you, you'll have worked out, as I just said, Real Madrid Castilla won the first game 2-0. That means that Sabadell went through. And before we start to talk too much about what went on the field, what an atmosphere in the Nova Cryo Alta for this one.
Yeah, it was a sellout. It was exactly what we was calling for, and the Sabadell fans responding in those great numbers. Yeah, it was an electric atmosphere, and got to say it's probably my favourite result of the weekend.
Yeah, you've got a very nice Sabadell shirt, haven't you, Tom? You've had a soft spot for them ever since you went there earlier on this season, and I don't blame you. I also really enjoyed my time there, and particularly impressed by Ferran Costa, the coach there, in my short visit to the club. And interesting that we were perhaps a little bit critical about their approach, Nick and myself, in the first game. Felt they were a little bit too passive. Certainly not passive in this one, and least of all, Senor Costa himself.
Yeah, it was a totally different game plan to the last game. High energy, constant pressing, and getting into the face of the Castilla boys. And also, Costa and his assistant coach was doing a lot of pressing as well, up and down the touchline.
I love this. This is one of my favourite moments of the whole weekend. This was like Costa just charging for another time. Sorry, Fran. Is there not a technical area? Just like this box that he just ignored, ran up and down. I mean, he absolutely kicked every ball. He must have been exhausted by the end of the game. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
I felt sorry for the person who was playing on that side as well.
Yeah, well, exactly that as well. I think it was probably Lopez Pinto the first half, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, imagine he was getting coached, like, not just by the centre circle or by the halfway line. He was getting coached all the way along the flank as well. But yeah, I love to see it. I love to see that passion. And they could have gone ahead early on, couldn't they? I thought it was a really good save, double save actually for Fran Gonzalez, wasn't it? A header from a set piece, and then I think Lopez Pinto the follow-up, well saved again. And then we had really, now listen, we particularly enjoyed this weekend, I think, didn't we both, Tom? Because we went into it thinking we might well have 2 all-filial finals, and it didn't work out like that. But we have to try and look at this from as much of a neutral perspective as we can, and be honest about what we saw. Now, I don't know what you think about this, but much as I'm delighted that the FES appeal from Real Madrid Castilla for the challenge on Joan Martinez by Kaiser in the Real Madrid attack. I think it was McCorner, wasn't it? Actually, there's a challenge in there, isn't there? And the referee goes across his monitor after Real Madrid Castilla play a card. I have to feel this is probably a penalty. I'd have been pretty unhappy, I think, if it hadn't been given for my team.
I'm trying not to be anti-filial and try to be neutral, but it's I see both sides to it. I would have been shouting out for it to be given if it was for me, but if it was against me, I wouldn't have it either, because he's basically Joao Martinez has just sort of done a hopeless hit behind him and just hits it out for a goal kick, and it was literally just the slightest of touch from a follow through from Kaiser to bring him down. I don't know whether it was enough to bring him down or not, but there is contact, and Martinez did give a good roll on the pitch, didn't he?
yeah, exaggerated his fall. I think it's fair to say. Yeah, there was contact. I think we need to look probably, a penalty in one of the later games, and I'm not sure there's a huge amount of difference between. Although, yeah, I mean, I was delighted it wasn't given. Let's be honest, and I think most people were. I think we talked about this over the weekend. I don't think many people really have a lot of time for filiales apart from the people who support the team, the first team of the filiale, basically. One thing that really can't be disputed is the opening goal, the award for the free kick that led to the opening goal, the indirect free kick. But I'd be really interested in your point of view, Tom, as a goalkeeper. Gonzalo falls on the ball. It's a back pass from Lamine Fati to him. He falls on the ball, and of course, by doing so, he's picking up a back pass and gives away an indirect free kick deep inside his own area. Who's at fault there? Is it really poor defending from Fati? I know he leaves the pass short, but should Gonzalo have been a little bit braver there and then just booted it away rather than falling on it with his hands?
I'm sticking to my goalkeepers union on this one. I'm saying it's all Lamine Fati because, like you said, he totally undercooks the pass back, and I think Gonzalez has no choice but to dive at it because the pass is so short and the attacker was so close to him, and I believe he tried to just whack it clear. He might have risked of like hitting it against the attacker and rebounding into the net. So, yeah,
I see your point. You're right that the ricochet could have gone anywhere, couldn't it? Really, it's an instinctive decision. It's from Gonzalo, and he, as it turns out, probably people will feel he made the bad call. I did notice afterwards. I don't take much notice, to be honest, on the whole of score. Ratings on score apps. Gonzalo got given 5.1 for this game on a couple of apps I saw, and I think that's really harsh. I mean, this is potentially a mistake by him, but as you say, it's a 50-50 decision that he makes. He probably makes the wrong one, but he made some good saves in this game as well, which we might mention later on. But regardless of whose fault it was an indirect free kick. I did find it quite amusing that they put down the old draft excluder, didn't they? Real Castilla, obviously, to stop the ball going under the wall. And then it was smashed goalwards by Priego and hit the draft excluder. I don't know who the player was on the ground, but must have hurt. And then, of course, ricocheted off him and flew into the net. I think it was going anyway, to be fair. I think he was there to block that happening. And I don't think he would have saved it if he hadn't been there, because it was absolutely going like a rocket, wasn't it? But he didn't actually do what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, it was in those situations where you have an indirect free kick in the box, you've got to make the most of it, really. And for the defending side, it's pretty hard to try and stop that ball from being hit from the second person, and it could rebound anywhere. And yeah, I'm not going to complain about the quality of the goal because
no. I mean, to be fair, it ricochets off. He could ricochet over the bar, as you rightly say, Tom. It flicks up off him, doesn't it? It could go anywhere from there. It actually flies into the net, and we were delighted. But yeah, it's unfortunate for the play on the ground. But yeah, if ever were there an example that draft exclusions don't always work, this was one of them. 2-0. 2 minutes later, Astals. Sabadell came through the Cantera, didn't he, Sabadell? So yeah, delighted for him. He's had a brilliant season. But again, Tom, I don't know. I do think there's potentially a foul on the build-up here on a Real Madrid Castilla player. I don't know what you think.
The Sabadell player doesn't get the ball. Once again, I think it's sort of minimal contact. And I think also the player that goes down has messed up there as well. So it's sort of, I'm going to say 50-50 again, really, with that one. I'm on the fence with that because, yeah, if I was the defending team, once again, I'd be complaining that's a foul because he doesn't get the ball at all. But is it enough to bring him down?
Yeah, you outstrength him, but like you outstrength somebody not getting the ball. I mean, it's so hard for me because, again, I was delighted with the referee. I look at it, went no goal anyway, but I've got to try and look at this from as much of a neutral point of view as I can, and even though I'm completely not neutral in this matter, and think, well, like you, I'd have been unhappy as a defending team if I hadn't had that given for me. Escudero had a chance to make it 3-0 before halftime. A good save from Gonzalez, and then we had Diego Foley being Diego Foley. We get rid of these pretty much every game, don't we, Tom? You must. Is he your favourite keeper? Would you say in Primera Federación? Is there a better keeper in Primera Federación?
Oh, good question. I think there's a lot of high quality keepers in Primera Federación, and he's got to be up there, probably in my top 3, I'd say. Yeah,
he's had a bit of a shaky playoffs, doesn't he? A bit of a shaky last few weeks on the whole, but that's because his standard to me is so very high that there's only one way. Only way is down really when you've had a good a season as him really. But yeah, this is a brilliant save to keep out ahead of from Thierry, I think it is, and that situation there at 2-1 game changes completely. Really pleased to see Sabadell push on in this game. I don't know what you thought. I thought they were pretty front foot. At 2-0, in theory they just have to hang on for the rest of the game for extra time as well, and they go through as the higher place side in terms of the regular season, but they did look for a third and a couple of really decent saves, I thought, from Gonzalez. And then the goal that actually makes sure that extra time isn't required. I mean, I just feel, I don't know about you, it's the 90th minute for a start, so almost no time for Real Castilla to react. But yeah, I don't know what you make of this, but I think when you score a goal like that and you get an assist like that, Kostya, you know that your luck's in. You know it's your night, don't you?
Yeah, I'll say it was a miss hit. I think he went for glory, and it luckily just fell to him, and it was a pretty good finish by Kostya. It was like sort of a lovely sort of dummy finish. Yeah,
Kostya, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a lovely dummy finish by him, and yeah, bit fortunate, but.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. Priego outside of the ball coming across at pace, wasn't it? But I mean, I'm quite sure Kostya wasn't crossing it for him, as you rightly say. I think he was going for glory. And talking of glory, he didn't then cover himself in glory because he got himself sent off, Kostya, with a very stupid second challenge for the second yellow card. And what is he doing there? Going through the back of the Real Madrid Castilla player, a couple of bookings in 3 or 4 minutes, and that's probably the only blemish really on Sabadell's evening, isn't it? He's got some goals to them this season. He'll now sit out, obviously, the first leg of the final. But overall, I'm sure you were as delighted as I was by the result, Tom, yeah?
Yeah, like I said at the start, my favourite result of the weekend. And yeah, going back to that tackle, it's in like the 99th minute in the opposite corner, the other end of the pitch. He just didn't need to do it, did he?
Yeah, absolutely daft. Right, we move on then to Alcalá de Henares on the outskirts of Madrid, and this situation was very well set up for Atletico Madrid, wasn't it? They'd done the hard bit. They'd gone to Ponferrada and got the 0-0 draw, despite playing over half the game with 10 men, and then it looked like they would have come back to their home patch, where they've been absolutely superb this season, scored loads of goals. I think they only lost once, and essentially do the business, and they absolutely didn't. But I think a big part of that, Tom, would have to be that early goal, wouldn't it? It was absolutely perfect in terms of Ponfer's game plan. Scoring the first 10 minutes, it was crucial to how they were able to play the rest of the game to a certain extent. And I think this is a decent hit, and you stuck up for keepers already once this evening. You don't think that the keeper covered himself in glory here, Esquivel, do you? I'd be interested to see why you don't think so. I've watched it a few times. I don't think he's got much blame there. I'm not sure that he could have done much about Keita's shot.
I mean, at first I thought it was a good goal. I thought Keita stuck it in the corner. But then when you watch the replay, his position is dreadful. Even though he might not have been expected it, you've always got to make sure you're in a decent position, narrowing that angle. And Keita just hits it basically near central to the goal and just goes in. And it shouldn't be happening like that.
I think that's harsh. I think it goes quite near the corner. I think he's probably one step too far over to his right, maybe. He is slightly out of position, but man, you're a tough judge of keepers on that evidence, Mr. Morgan Charters. But yeah, regardless of what the wrongs or rights are in terms of the keeper's role in it, crucial for them to go ahead early, allowed them to play the game they wanted to. But you've got to say that they absolutely nullified Atletico Madrid, didn't they? They started shooting from outside the box, and I've seen a fair number of this B team's games this season, and they do play some really intricate, nice football, but they just could not get it going at all in this game. It's almost like they were so shocked to have fallen behind that they just couldn't really get any sort of rhythm going. And there's been a lot of talk since at the end of the game about, roughhousing and all this kind of stuff. But I just thought that Ponferradina did a number on them, really. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, I say Ponfe controlled the game. I thought they turned the game how they wanted it to be, sort of staying compact, not allowing Atletico Madrileño to build anything from the midfield. And I've got to say there was some good performances there, especially from the centre-back pairing of Navarra and Under Barrena, who bossed their box and marking Arnau out of the game because you didn't see him at all. And then,
and Arnau Ortiz has been absolutely on fire, hasn't he? I've seen today he's been linked with, La Liga clubs and stuff. He's got 23, 24 goals this season. He looks a hell of a player. Mm-hmm. And he was absolutely anonymous, as you rightly say. He didn't do anything, did he? And that's due no small part to the way Ponfe defence played him. I thought they were excellent.
Yeah, and also like the players in the attacking areas in the midfield did their defensive duties quite well. I thought Borja Vasquez carried on his good performance from last week. He's on loan. I think he's on loan from Cadiz, isn't he? And Carlos Calderon tirelessly working up and down the wing, and Keita getting his goal, sort of playing sort of like an unorthodox striker, holding the ball up well. And then Nafty got it spot on, really, with his game plan and substitutions, making sure that Atletico Madrileño didn't build up on the left-hand side, so he doubled up on that side. And he kept bringing on fresh legs.
Well, and to be fair, he brought some fresh legs towards the end of the game, but in the first half, he had to make a couple of changes, didn't he? Which were injury enforced. He had to adapt to that really quickly, in terms of, I'm sure he wasn't expecting to lose a couple of players in the first 25 minutes, so he clearly, in this day and age, you've got 5 subs, haven't you? So you can afford to make a couple of early changes and then still have a couple more in the bag for the second half. But yeah, just everything I thought he did worked out for him. And let's not forget, Tom, you look at that second half and who had the best chances? Yeah, who could have had a second goal? For me, again, really only long-range efforts. And one goal, my scramble, I thought that, Prieta did quite well on, blocking it at close point-blank range. But really, it was, they had a goal disallowed, didn't they, at Ponfe for the referee blowing his whistle too fast. And, look at the second half chances. For me, I look at, 2 really, really good chances and that disallowed goal that, essentially they could have won the game more comfortably, really.
Yeah, and say going back to that disallowed goal, try not to blame referees, but I'm going to blame the referee on this one. He should have read the situation better and allowed the play to continue instead of stopping the game. And I don't know about you, but I don't know how Puric didn't get a red card for that. For that tackle.
Yeah, I thought it was a red card challenge as well, Tom. I thought it was a really poor challenge, yeah. And I kind of got to understand if he was going to get red card him, yeah, I can understand he might have stopped the game. You saw something that really horrified him immediately. You could see that, but he only gave him a yellow, and I was like, no, that's a really, really poor challenge. Excessive force and all that, and just a yellow and depriving them of a goal. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we, as you say, we don't like to criticise referees, but that was one for me that he definitely, we all know he got it wrong, don't we? And you mentioned Borja Vázquez. How does he find the energy, Tom, in what is it, about the 89th minute to tear down the wing? He looked exhausted 10 minutes before that, goes down the wing and cuts in and beats the last defender and hits a decent effort, which Esquivel actually pushed onto the post, which was a brilliant save. You'd like that one, surely.
Yeah, like I said, he was probably Pompey's best outlet, really, and still going at that sort of time in the game and making that run and producing a good shot, and it was equaled by a good save from the keeper. And then there's that chance from Cortez, isn't it, near the end to really kill it off.
Yeah, Another bad back pass. Keeper didn't fall on this one. He just couldn't quite get there in time. Cortes goes round, does all the hard work, and then somehow from about 7 yards out, slots it past the post. I'm really not sure how he missed that one. But yeah, as I say, there's three instances we've mentioned there that could have led to a second Pompey goal. Meanwhile, at the other end, Atletico Madrid only created almost nothing. And so, yeah, it's disappointing to see an awful lot of criticism of Pompey after the game. I'm sure they couldn't care less, but I find it quite amusing as well, Tom, that fans of Atletico Madrid can complain about supposed roughhouse tactics or supposed shithousery from Ponferradina when you bear in mind who's in charge of their first team and how many times Cholo Simeone has produced a performance like that from his Atleti side over the last 10 years or so. It seems to be a certain irony in that for me.
Yeah, I don't know why they're complaining, because the times that I've watched them this season, they're no better. They've been shithousing and trying to get the other team's players sent off, and like rough challenges and off the ball incidents. So I don't know what they're complaining about there.
Yeah, it felt like spoiled children, didn't it? A bit, you're not letting us play football like we want to, and it's tough. I totally agree. I think unfortunately there is quite a lot of it around in Primera Federación. I don't think that there's any one team that's particularly guilty of it. I think Nafti has shown that he can set a team up to be very strong defensively. He did suggest, I think, early on in the season that part of that was because he tried to instill his own sort of style of playing. It wasn't really working, so he decided to go back to the basics. It certainly worked for him, and totally deserved win for them, delight for them, and of course for one of their biggest fans outside of Spain, which is of course Chris Pigeon. Looking forward to seeing how they affront the challenge of another filial in the final, because in the third of the four games that we had this weekend, that was our only disappointment in terms of losing a proper team and unfortunately a filial going through, and that was Celta Fortuna 3, Europa 2. It was after extra time, and it meant, of course, that Celta Fortuna won 4-3 overall. They would have won anyway without that third goal because they finished higher up in the league. And before we talk too much about the game, Jordi Cano being Jordi Cano yet again, eh? I mean, what a season. 31 years old, Tom. And he's never played at this level before. I think that's 27 goals this season. They're quite incredible.
I think it's his best season to date, I think, and sort of running out of things to say about him, really. And you can see why he's being linked with like Segunda teams. Even though I like to watch him every week, I'd like to see him have a go at Segunda next season. Sorry, Europa fans, but yeah, he's deserved it, definitely.
Totally agree. And it's interesting that one of the strongest links with Cordoba, and of course, if you think about Cordoba, think back to last summer, who did they sign last summer from Primera Federación? Adrian Fuentes, who'd done brilliantly at Tarazona, and that's worked out really well for them. So although Cano was a couple of years old, I think than Fuentes, why would you not go for that? And I agree with you. I'd love to see him get his chance. He does miss chances. It has to be said. He missed a great chance for me, I think, in late on in this game, might even have been in the first period of extra time. He'll need to, I think, improve his sort of, it seems ridiculous to say that he's got 27 goals, but he has missed quite a few chances over the weeks. He won't probably get quite as many if he does go to Segunda. But yeah, the first goal here onto his left foot, smashes it past the keeper. The second one, penalty, and tucks it away, and everything at stake at that point. Losing 2-1 near the end of the game, had to score it, didn't let them down. And yeah, he's been a brilliant servant for them this season, and he surely will go higher this summer. So that first goal, that left foot thunderbolt from Cano had them ahead at half time. And then we had a chance for Marin. He really should have scored a foot early in the second half and header against the bar. And then 3 penalties in 20 minutes. So give me your take on these 3 penalties. 2 for Celta Fortuna and then 1 for Europa.
To be honest, I have no complaints for the Celta Fortuna penalties at all. Well, for all 3 of them. All 3 of them, I think, were given correctly. Meshak, who's been great this season, I've really enjoyed watching him play. It's very similar to one of your favourites, Quadri from Sabadell.
I can't believe I got through that whole chat about Sabadell and didn't mention Quadri.
Yeah.
How immense was Quadri? I texted you during the game. I was like, he is absolutely brilliant. I love him so much. He's such a gutsy, just love him. Yeah, you're absolutely. Thanks for mentioning Quadri. I think we would have got through the whole show without that. You just give me a great chance to wax lyrical about it for 20 seconds. Right, get back to those 3 penalties.
Yeah, like I said, Meshak's had a brilliant season, and it's just one moment where he has a lapse of judgment, and he puts his 2 hands up and pushes Hugo Baseo over, and Hugo Gonzalez dispatches the penalty.
Yeah, clear pen. I agree. Second one, clear pen as well. Would you not say? Yeah, you just said it was. So tell me why it was a clear pen.
It really stemmed from a sort of game-changing substitution, I think, from Freddie Alvarez bringing on Bernie Sumer on the 66th minute. Europa really tried hard in this game. They went all out, and you could tell they were tiring, and they don't have a lot of pace at the back, and Sumer exploited that space in behind. And Juan Flair, I think he should have really stood his ground against a fast, rapid player, because if you go down, you've committed, and with a player that quick, he can easily turn and get the contact he needs to go down, and clear penalty.
Yeah, he catches his left boot, I think, doesn't he? You're absolutely right. He needs to stay on his feet there. And then as soon as he goes down, Samir tries to go around him, you fear for him, don't you? Yeah, I mean, Samir's pace. I mean, Alex Cano is not going to keep up with him, is he? There's no chance of that. I totally agree. It was a big decision from Freddie Alvarez, and a very good one. Interesting, a good friend of ours, Alex Fitzpatrick, my co-host over on the Spanish Segunda show, has a real thing about people, the same player taking two penalties in a game. That was just funny. It wasn't funny. I felt sorry for Flair, because Hugo Gonzalez did exactly the same thing with both penalties, didn't he? Shape to go to the keeper's left and went to the keeper's right. Can't copy penalties. Same outcome. Sorry, Alex. On this occasion, it was the right call to leave Hugo Gonzalez on penalties.
And Hugo Gonzalez was another pivotal player in this match, who sort of was playing in midfield the first game, and this game he got pushed up in sort of the more attacking areas and really threatened Europa. But I thought Europa were the better side, really, and they just lacked the stamina for 120 minutes, and it cost them, really. And going on to the third penalty as well. Yeah, Joel Lopez is trying to steal Vacas's shirt.
Oh, I think this goes over Vacas's head. He knows he's not getting there, and he just takes a tumble. I'm not sure. Again, I would still like to see it given, but yeah, there's a little bit of a shirt tug there, but he's not exactly. I mean, you see an awful lot of that. It's often about how long they held on to the shirt for as well. I thought that was soft, to say the least. Much as I was happy to see it given. Cano shushed the crowd after this penalty that he converted, which was a little bit naughty, I suppose. But, a lot of players do it. And they were actually giving him pelters, weren't they? Because they were unhappy about the award of the penalty. And there was quite a few behind that goal. They played this game, didn't they, in Balaidos? And although it was still obviously 3/4 empty, then quite a decent number of Celta fans turned out for it. So, coolly dispatched by Cano.
He has apologised for the shushing to the fans. He has, which is
he has to say. He did say he was sorry, but it's no big deal, is it? Another keeper that went the wrong way as well. He did have a chance, I said, in extra time to make it a 3-2, but I think you're right. Once Arcos put Celta Fortuna ahead, just at the early stage of that second period of extra time, Europa were gone at that stage. They were just knackered, weren't they? And I guess, ultimately, probably the better side went through, but tough to take. They had an amazing season, and ultimately it ends a disappointment. Let us move on to a more uplifting story for those of us who hate Filiales. Zamora 2, BRL B 0 after extra time, and Zamora go through because they finished higher in their league than BRL B did in theirs. Plenty of talking points. Tom, let's start with the BRL B red card, which came after Carlos Ramos had given Zamora the lead. Gaitan, red carded, checked by the referee, and still red carded after an appeal from the BRL bench. What do you think?
It's one decision I really do sympathise with the player, Gaitan. He goes in for a 50-50 with his foot high, sort of waist height, trying to sort of flick the ball away and trying to run onto it. And Marco Lozano has his head low and says he got hit in the face with the foot and goes down like he's been shot. But we've seen images where it's just the foot's just hit his arm. And
the referee, I noticed after the referee confirmed the sending off, he pointed to his shoulder. He pointed to the sort of top area of his left arm, sort of thing, around the sort of shoulder, just not, probably more upper arm than shoulder, to be fair. But I didn't see any contact there. I saw him miss. missed with his outstretched boot. And as he came down, he caught the Zamora player around about the waist. Now, yeah, waist high. You could say that was still, I think it's a yellow. Tom, I don't think it's a red. Again, much as I was pleased to see Villarreal down to 10 men and behind in the game, I have to be honest and say I don't think that was a red card. Chek Tiam, on the other hand, after he came on, for me, made 3 yellow card challenges and only got 1 yellow card. And in fact, at one occasion, he did get a second yellow card, and then the referee changed his mind. I think booked Lauren Boron for diving, which I thought was pretty poor. So maybe overall the referee did even it out. But the biggest decision of all in this game, in this season, maybe, a decision that will live long in the memories of Zamora fans, happened in the 96th minute. Give me your take on this penalty decision after an FES appeal from Zamora's bench.
Well, the referee didn't want to give it, did he? So a corner swung in from the left-hand side, quite low, near post. The defender tries to go to clear it first time, and Boron gets in between him and the ball, and the defender clearly boots him in the ankle, and the referee doesn't agree with it and waves play on, and Oscar Cano uses his FES appeal to appeal it, and watching the replays, he really did not want to give it at all, but luckily he caved in.
Totally. He was just like, do I dare not give it? Do I dare give it? Which way am I going? And he takes a deep breath, doesn't he? Comes away from the screen and points. I'm sitting there screaming at my TV going, it's a penalty. And thankfully, eventually he gives it. Eventually he has to come clean and confirm. I mean, I've seen this. There's an expression in Spanish, penaltito, which they tend to use meaning a soft penalty. I've seen a lot of people talking about this being a soft penalty. It is a clear penalty, as you rightly say. Podesta goes to the back of Loan Boron. It's a stupid challenge. He doesn't need to make the challenge at all. It's not a very good corner. Boron's not helping it on into the danger area, and he just goes to the back of him. It's a foul everywhere on the pitch, including the penalty area. And Ramos, the man who started his Zamora career as like an under 10 or an under 11, played for the Alevines right back literally over 20 years ago. He hasn't been a Zamora for those entire 20 years, but he's been there for quite a few years. 97th minute, his legacy on the line. Tom smashes the corner and smashes the penalty in the corner, sends the keeper the wrong way. And what a moment, eh? That's a really special moment in Primera Federación history, I think.
Yeah, he's Mr. Zamora, isn't he? Nerves of steel, and literally the dying seconds of the game to keep your team in the tie, and yeah, calmly and cool.
Yeah, it looked like it wasn't coming, wasn't it? They had some chances that second half towards the end. They were throwing the kitchen sink at it. You said they were overhitting like the crosses, weren't they? And then there was a header, a clear chance, a header from about 6 yards out that they missed, couldn't even get on target. And you're just like, this is not going to be. And I thought they played the extra time really well as well, didn't you, Tom? Because I remember we went to see them against Unionistas. When they got ahead, that I felt like they retreated into their shell a bit, but they certainly didn't do that in this game, did they, in the last 30 minutes?
No, they did. They wasn't guns blazing, and they didn't sit back. They sort of played sort of a mid block. Really, they didn't commit players, but they didn't sit too deep. But they were trying to catch Villarreal B on the counter attack when they were committing men forward.
And talking to tired players. Talking to tireless players, I say, rather than tired players. I think he was pretty tired, but he looked tireless even to the very end. Kike Marquez, not one of the youngest players on the pitch either, by the way. In fact, probably the oldest, I think. Just unbelievable. How many times did he go down with cramp and carry on? I mean, what a player. What a man. So, yeah, they got it done. They got it done just because they finished higher in the league than Villarreal B. And, of course, they've never played in Segunda before. And what I love probably most of all about this story, apart from the fact that it's their chance to make up to Segunda for the first time ever, is Oscar Cano, who, of course, as a fan of Segunda, I last saw him leaving after just a few games in Tenerife to widespread ridicule from the Tenerife fan base and many other people in football. And he's come back to football with Zamora, and he's got them on the brink of history, hasn't he? So it's a brilliant story.
Yeah, like one of the shows that I've been on, I've said that since he's been in, he's got quite a lot of points, quite a big points tally. matching sort of Tenerife and likes of Sabadell and El Dense since he's been there. Yeah, it's sometimes not the most enjoyable to watch, but he gets them in a shape, and yeah, mostly solid.
Yeah, it's not like watching some of the more enterprising sides, but yeah, he's got them very difficult to beat, and they they're not without their attacking flair as well, and I'm delighted for them. And he does now set up a final between Zamora and Sabadell, which we played the first day we played this weekend in Zamora Saturday night at 9 o'clock, I think, and then somewhat controversially they're playing the second leg on a Friday night, Friday the 20th at 9 p.m. We're particularly gutted about that, aren't we? Because we were hoping to go, and neither of us could go on the Friday. We could have gone on the Saturday. 19th, actually, I think. Is it 19th or no, yes, 20th, I think, isn't it? Actually, no, it's the 13th and 19th, isn't it? I know it's the Friday night. Sorry, the Saturday night this week, the 13th, and then the following Friday night, the 19th. So that's a great shame. But I mean, what do you make of that one? Zamora Sabadell, who's going to go through?
Well, I think the reason why it's on the Friday is that it might clash with maybe Spain national team playing, and obviously with the Segunda playoffs as well. I don't want to clash with that either. But yeah,
I think it has to fit in those. You're right. I think the Spain game's a Sunday night. You've got the Segunda final on the Saturday night. You've got another Primera Federación final as well on the Saturday night. You can't play the game at 3 p.m. because it's really hot in Spain right now. So yeah, I get it. But if you're a Zamora fan, you know what I mean. What is it? 500-600 kilometers. It's a long way from Zamora to Sabadell, and you've got to take a day off work, etc. It is a shame, but I get it, but I would have liked to see them try and find some way to just play at the same time as a Spain game. I mean, come on. But yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, what do you think then in terms of who will go through? Do you fancy Sabadell as the higher placed team and having the second leg at home?
To be honest, I think both of these games, there's not much in them. So I think Zamora need to get a result in the first leg at home against Sabadell to take with them to Sabadell, because Sabadell are normally quite good at home, and I'm sure they're going to be on the front foot when they come to visit them. So it's a tough one to call. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think Zamora need at least a goal lead, just because of what happened as well this weekend. You think Sabadell anything less than I think even at 2-0 Sabadell, we think, we just turned over Real Madrid Castilla from 2-0 down. We can do the same here. Sold out again. Absolutely high tempo, etc. Yeah, I think Zamora have to win the first game. I totally agree with you there. The other final is between Ponferradina and Celta Fortuna, and of course Celta Fortuna have never played in Segunda before either. We'd be delighted for that record to be extended, of course. But yeah, again, I agree with you, Tom. Too tight to call, really. Ponferradina, perhaps not so bothered about them winning the first leg here. Could see them going to Celta Fortuna and doing what they did to Atletico Madrileño, eking out a 1-0 victory. So maybe not so crucial to establish a first leg lead. I don't know what you think.
I'm just hoping it's not a repeat of the last time I watched Ponferradina Celta Fortuna. Remember when I said it was probably the dullest game I watched? It was awful, but I'm sure it won't be. I'm sure it won't, because Nafty's in the groove, and Celta Fortuna are for filial side a great side to watch.
It's one of those guilty pleasures. It's a guilty pleasure.
They're my preferred filial side. If we had to have one to go up, they were my preferred side to go up out of all the filials, I think.
Totally with you on that. Yeah, very much a guilty pleasure. But yeah, they are a good side to watch. You've got some really good players in there. To be fair, all filiales do generally try and play decent football, and so they should. I mean, they've got a luxury of riches, haven't they? But it would hurt me hugely if Ponferradina didn't make it when they've come back so well from a fairly desperate position. Let's face it, when the turn of the year arrived. But yeah, if it has to be a filial of the 4 teams that made it to the semi-finals, I think Celta Fortuna, I'm totally with you. I think that would be the one that would hurt to the least. Tom, thank you so much for your time this evening. We will, of course, be watching these games with great interest this weekend, and we'll be keeping up to date on all the other comings and goings and the movers and the shakers throughout the week on social media. But we'll leave you at this point, and we'll See you again next week. Hasta luego.